Brazil is the most successful nation in football history. 5 World Cups, the only country to appear at every single one. So why are they walking into 2026 carrying a 24-year curse, a national trauma they still won't talk about, and a coach they were embarrassed to finally get? This is the complete story of the greatest football nation on earth, the glory and everything they'd rather you forgot.
To understand Brazil, you have to understand a contradiction. No nation has won more, produced more genius, or defined how football should look, and no nation has fallen harder or carried heavier scars. Over the next 20 minutes, you'll get all of it. The dynasty that ruled the world, the records that may never be broken, the controversies that still haunt them, and exactly where they stand right now at the 2026 World Cup. Start where the legend began.
Start with a record no one else can touch. Since the very first World Cup in 1930, one team has played in every single tournament. Not Germany, not Italy, not Argentina. Brazil. 90-plus years, 22 editions, and the Seleção never missed one. And they didn't just show up, they conquered. 5 world titles, 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, and 2002. More than any nation in history. That yellow shirt became the most feared jersey on the planet. But the shirt everyone fears? It was born out of a disaster. And we'll get to that. First, the team that made them immortal. 1958. A 17-year-old kid named Pelé arrives at the World Cup and changes football forever. He scores a hat trick in the semifinal, 2 in the final, and Brazil win their first title. He wins again in 1962, and then in 1970, he leads what many still call the greatest team ever assembled. That side, Pelé, Carlos Alberto, Jairzinho, Tostão, Gerson, Rivellino, didn't just win. They played a brand of football so beautiful, it looked invented. The final goal against Italy, finished by Carlos Alberto after the whole team touched the ball, is still shown as the perfect goal. Pelé became the only player in history to win 3 World Cups. Let that sink in. 3. But greatness fades, and Brazil were about to enter a wilderness. After 1970, the titles stopped. 12 years, then 16, then 20. Brazil kept producing magicians, Zico, Socrates, an entire golden generation, and kept coming home empty-handed. 24 years passed without a World Cup. And then, in 1994, in a tournament hosted by the United States, it finally broke. A harder, more pragmatic Brazil, led by Romário, ground their way to the final and beat Italy on penalties when Roberto Baggio blazed the decisive kick over the bar. 24 years of pain ended on American soil. Remember that number, 24, and remember where it happened, because it's about to matter again. Then came the last golden age, 2002. The 3 R's, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. Ronaldo, written off after a nightmare 4 years earlier, and we'll come back to that nightmare, scored 8 goals, including both in the final against Germany. Brazil lifted their 5th star. It remains, to this day, the last time Brazil won the World Cup. That was over 20 years ago. An entire generation of fans has never seen the Seleção on top of the world. And to understand why that hurts so much, you have to understand what Brazil actually means to football. Here are the numbers that define them. Most World Cup titles? 5. Most World Cup matches won of any nation. The only country present at every tournament. Pelé, the only 3-time winner. And a national identity built on 2 words, joga bonito, the beautiful game. Brazil didn't just win, they decided what winning should look like. The flicks, the samba, the joy. But here's a fact most people don't know. That iconic yellow shirt, Brazil didn't always wear it. For years, they played in white. The yellow was born from the single most painful day in their history, a day we're about to relive. And Brazil never stopped producing. From Garrincha to Zico, Romario to Ronaldo, Ronaldinho to Kaká, a non-stop conveyor belt of the world's best. Today, it's Vinícius Júnior, one of the most electric attackers on earth, and a teenager named Endrick, already tipped as the next great number 9. No country exports football talent like Brazil. But being a factory of genius has a dark side too, because when you're expected to produce miracles every 4 years, anything less than a trophy feels like failure. And Brazil has known some spectacular failures. 1950. Brazil hosts the World Cup for the first time. They build the Maracanazo, the biggest stadium on earth, for one purpose: to crown themselves champions at home. In the deciding match, nearly 200,000 people watch Brazil face Uruguay. Brazil only need a draw. They take the lead. And then Uruguay score twice. Final whistle. Silence. A silence so total, it has a name: the Maracanazo. Grown men wept in the streets. Some fans, it said, never recovered. Brazil were so traumatized they abandoned the white shirt they'd worn that day, blaming it for the curse, and replaced it with the yellow you know today. Their greatest symbol was born from their deepest wound, but it wouldn't be their last. 1998, the final. France versus Brazil. And the greatest striker on the planet, Ronaldo, is at the center of a mystery still argued about today. Hours before kickoff, Ronaldo suffered a convulsion. His name was left off the team sheet entirely. Then, minutes later, it reappeared. He would play after all. He was a ghost on the pitch. Brazil lost 3-0. What actually happened that day has never been fully explained. Theories have swirled for years about pressure, about sponsors, about medication, but a later Brazilian congressional inquiry found no proof of any wrongdoing. The truth remains locked away. All anyone knows for certain, something broke in Brazil that night. Ronaldo would get his revenge in 2002, but the scars kept coming. 2014. Brazil hosts the World Cup again, desperate to exercise 1950. In the semifinal, they meet Germany. What happens next is the most shocking result in World Cup history. Without the injured Neymar and the suspended Thiago Silva, Brazil don't just lose, they collapse. 1-0, 2, 3, 4, 5, all inside the first half hour. The final score? 7-1, in their own country. Fans sobbed in the stands. A nation that defined beautiful football was humiliated on the biggest stage, at home, live to the world. They call it the Mini Arazo, the sequel to 1950. It's the wound that still defines modern Brazil, and the recovery has been anything but smooth. It kept slipping. 2022, a gifted Brazil side crash out to Croatia on penalties, Neymar in tears, another favorite tag wasted. And then came the worst of all. The road to 2026 turned into a nightmare. Brazil endured their most difficult qualifying campaign in living memory, finishing 5th in South America, a position that once would have been unthinkable. They were battered 4-1 by Argentina in Buenos Aires. 3 different coaches came and went before a ball was even kicked at the World Cup. The kings of football were in free fall. And off the pitch, it was somehow even messier. After 2022, Brazil decided their savior would be Carlo Ancelotti, the most decorated club coach alive. There was just one problem. He didn't come. Brazil waited more than a year, publicly, while Ancelotti instead extended his contract at Real Madrid. It was one of the most embarrassing episodes in their history. The greatest football nation left waiting at the door. They shuffled through interim coaches. Then their federation was threatened with suspension by FIFA over outside interference, and their own president was removed from office by court order. The Seleção wasn't just losing games, it was falling apart at the top, which makes what happened next almost unbelievable. And there's one more battle, bigger than football. Vinícius Júnior, Brazil's brightest star, has faced repeated racist abuse in Spain. And instead of staying quiet, he's become one of the loudest voices against racism in the sport, forcing the game to confront it. It's a reminder that Brazil's story has never only been about trophies. It carries the weight of a nation, its pain and its pride, every time that yellow shirt walks out. So after the trauma, the collapse, and the chaos, where does that leave Brazil right now at the 2026 World Cup?
In 2025, after all the waiting, Carlo Ancelotti finally said yes. For the first time, the Brazilian men's national team is led by a foreign coach. And not just any coach, but the only manager to win all 5 of Europe's major leagues. It's a gamble that breaks a century of tradition. Brazil handing their soul to an Italian. But desperate times demand it. His mission is simple to say and brutally hard to do. End a 24-year wait and bring home the 6th star. And in America, in 2026, the campaign began.
And so far, the signs are cautiously good. Brazil won Group C, a nervy draw with Morocco, then 2 confident 3-0 wins over Haiti and Scotland. Vinícius Júnior has finally translated his club brilliance to the international stage, leading the line with 4 goals, including a brace against Scotland. And in an emotional twist, Neymar, Brazil's all-time top scorer, back from a devastating 2.5-year knee injury, returned for what is almost certainly his final World Cup. In the round of 32, they were pushed to the edge by Japan, needing a late goal to survive and reach the round of 16. It isn't vintage Brazil, but it's alive, and there's an eerie detail hanging over all of it.
Go back to that number, 24. Brazil's last title drought lasted exactly 24 years, and it ended in 1994 in a World Cup hosted by the United States. Their last title was 2002. Do the math. 2026 is exactly 24 years later, and once again, the World Cup is on American soil. The last time Brazil waited this long and the tournament came to the USA, they won it all. It's almost certainly a coincidence. Patterns like this are stories we tell after the fact, not laws of football. But for a nation this superstitious, this haunted, and this hungry, you'd better believe they've noticed.
So here's the truth about Brazil in 2026. They are not the flawless favorites of old. Their qualifying was a disaster. Their preparation was chaos. Their swagger is gone. But they are still Brazil, with the most electric attacker in the world, a returning legend chasing one last miracle, a teenage prodigy on the rise, and the most decorated coach on earth in the dugout. 5 stars, 24 years of hurt, a trauma they've never healed, and one last chance on the exact stage where they broke their longest curse before. Whether they lift the 6th star or fall short again, one thing is certain. No nation carries more history into this tournament than Brazil.
So, do you think Brazil finally end the drought and win their 6th? Or does the curse hold one more time? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you want more of these videos, like the video and subscribe to the channel.